I've relit the candle, so here we are. The light is on again, and before just introducing Christine very briefly, I'm just going to read. I did this morning. I'm going to read one paragraph from the introduction to her book, and this is her book here, The Heart of the Great Mother. And it's this: imagine a world where denial of our interrelatedness is no longer an option. You've learned something about that in the last few weeks. Imagine how a decision to injure or abuse others, whether physically or emotionally, would alter if we knew that their pain would be our pain. When you and I are one, all feelings are shared, and instinctively we will select those actions that bring the greatest degree of harmony and joy. In essence, the world of ether presents us with the possibility of a peace upon this planet that truly surpasses our present-day understanding. It's a powerful message from this book. So Christine and I have known each other for a long time, although we worked out that we actually haven't seen each other for over 20 years. So it doesn't seem possible. There you are. And she, as you'll have seen from the biography on site, she's a medical doctor, she's a mystic, she's a proficient in astrology and various other medical modalities. And she's written quite a number of books. This one is her latest. And she's been active in the field for 40 years. And another of her books includes the Healing Power of the Sacred Woman. And so she's incredibly experienced and eminent in this field. And we're very lucky to have her to complement Anaya from this morning. And we're looking forward to the next couple of hours with you, Christine.
Thank you, David. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. This is 9 o'clock New Mexico time. So I hope you've had a nice lunch and a nice tea. And I've had a nice breakfast. And the sun is shining as it always does here, which is one of the reasons why I love being in this New Mexico. It's a beautiful state. But we are at high desert. So for me, who has never lived more than 100 miles from the sea when I was in Britain, now we're very low in humidity. So I have to work with something very new here. I'd like it to rain, but it doesn't. So it's wonderful to be with you all. And I want to just maybe introduce myself for why am I interested in the feminine? Why is this part of my heritage? When I was born, I'd never known what it was like not to have intuition, not to have an intuitive connection to spirit. I thought everybody could see other people's auras. I thought everybody could talk to spirit. And of course, it took me a little while to realize everybody else wasn't doing what I was doing. But I was brought up, fortunately, I chose the right mother who was interested in psychic matters and spiritual matters, and was taken to the Spiritual Association of Great Britain and the College of Psychic Studies as a little girl. And I thought everybody talked to 5,000-year-old Egyptians every Saturday. It felt natural to me. And my mother and father, though, were very down to earth, and they always said, listen to what makes sense and let go of what doesn't. So it wasn't about getting lost in something. It was opening my mind, opening my heart to wisdoms that might come from many different sources. And I know that as a doctor, that was very important. I would listen to my patients and listen and think, wow, you have so much wisdom here about what you want for your healing, what you want for your health. And I learned to listen. And fortunately, when I was a doctor, we really did listen. Diagnosis was made on 80% of listening, 15% touching, and 5% tests. Well, now everything's got turned upside down, and that's showing up during this pandemic because people are having tests or nobody's listening. So I hope that out of this pandemic, my own profession, doctors, nurses, will return to what is their intuitive feminine knowing, because that was so strong amongst the doctors and nurses I worked with when I was much younger. Now I don't have a practice, I do other work. But what I want to say is I was very fortunate to have the mother I did. Again, I chose that. And the mother I had came from a lineage of wise women. My grandmother was Fae, as they would call it in Scotland, and they were all Scottish. And this lineage of my grandmother was the one we would now call a social worker, but she would go out and she would be called for both births and deaths. And I hear that that was a theme this morning, but this is the role of the feminine. The feminine understands how to die to the old and be born to the new. It is the feminine that takes us through that transition period, that rite of passage, that time that we're in now. And I fortunately went to a high school, a grammar school, where there was only women, and that had disadvantages. But the advantages were I met powerful women. My teachers were powerful, strong, educated women. And then I went to the Royal Free Medical School in Hampstead, London. And that had been set up because women weren't allowed to be in medical school earlier on. And therefore, the Royal Free represented this freedom of the feminine. And I've been very proud to be part of the Royal Free because it's always innovative on looking at things in a slightly different way. And so at the Royal Free, by the time I got there in the 70s, we were allowing men in. So we had allowed 50% men, 50% women, and the other colleges were allowing women in. But what I saw in my medical school was that we would have very powerful women again. So women who could terrify any of us, but they were also feminine. They had their families, they had their humor, they had their intuition. And I feel that that's one of the things that I've been prided to have around me is strong, powerful women who knew what it was to own that feminine power. And that's why I called this session Embodying the Sacred Feminine. Because what's happened is that as I see it, yes, we have more women taking on power, becoming CEOs, taking on major roles, but that's been offered at a cost of letting go of their feminine. And that so many times that they have become what I call mini men rather than sacred females. So I am teaching and sharing the wisdom of what it means to be a powerful woman within your feminine, not taking on the masculine roles that mean that I have to be stronger physically or maybe mentally. Women are powerful inherently. Everything that we need to be powerful is already born inside us. We have that knowingness, we have that connection to not only our own physical bodies and our physiology, but to the great Mother Earth, the sky above. Women are connected in ways that I'm not suggesting men can't, but there is an inherent rhythm that women know that I'm hoping that we can awaken today. So my journey has been with very powerful women, strong women, humorous women. My mother had a great sense of humor. And women who would fight for what was right. My mother was like a great bear, and she protected us with a fierce love. And when I'm listening to younger women who are coming to me, or we're working with them in a workshop, and they say, my mother was absent in my life, or my mother didn't have that strength, or my mother was too busy working, I'm sad, because what I know, even now my mother is on the other side, she's still got a fierce love for me. And that fierce love is something that I, as now the crone that I am, I want to make sure that the children of the future, the grandchildren, have that sense of someone who cares for them beyond anything else. And that is what women have. Because in many traditions that I've studied, the women were and are the spiritual leaders. Now, if I use that word spiritual, that's maybe leading us off into a sort of religious. I'm not talking about that. What I'm going to show this afternoon for you is how women, because of their lack of fear of death, their ability to connect to spirit at a deep level, they go beyond that fear and say, I know what we need to do as a family. I know what we need to do as a community. I know what we need to do beyond that community. And it is time for women to step forward in their families, in their communities, and become a force, and not a force against, but a force for caring for the next 7 generations, a force for knowing what is worth dying for. Here in the States, you may have known about the Iroquois Constitution. The Iroquois Constitution was set up prior to the Constitution of the United States, and actually became the format for the United States Constitution, although lots of things got changed as well. But the Iroquois Constitution was set up by 6 different tribes of Native Americans, who then said, we will come together. And the person who set that up was known as the peacemaker. And he said, I will choose grandmothers. And this wasn't necessarily women who had had children. He was recognizing the women who had gone through their own initiation and no longer had the fear of their ego, if I may say. In other words, they were willing to hold strong for the good of the community. They were no longer driven by their little personal ego. And he chose these women, and he said, women should always be the leaders of any tribe, because only women know what's worth fighting for. Only women know what's worth dying for. Only women know what it's like to hold a baby to your breast and have to bury it when it dies. So only women should choose if we go to war. Only women should choose, make decisions. And only women should be able to say, stop, this is not in harmony with what is good for the continuity of our tribe or our family. And I feel we're at that point now. Am I saying men can't do that? No. And I know many wonderful men, 2 of them are with us now, who are willing to have that energy. But my husband, who is a deep southerner of the USA, says he has always revered women. Even if I may say, he was adopted, he was quickly given away by his own mother. So he didn't have that experience of a mother who would do that. But he said he always knew women were more powerful and more honored. And he said there's nothing more beautiful in the universe than a woman in her power. And when I speak to other men about that, and maybe Andrew and David would agree, there is something about the honoring by men of women that I would love to see return to this earth now. And I know that during these really challenging times, unfortunately, so many women are being abused, so much domestic violence, so many children are. And it feels that this is part of the lockdown that we're in, which is allowing these things to happen. And this is not okay. It's not okay. And I have a vision of standing outside the home of someone, a woman who's being abused or a child who's being abused. I'm not saying men don't also get abused, but it's not that I want to be angry against, but I want everybody to know that they are being seen, that we love them and they are not alone. So many people are feeling alone at this time. And as a crone, I'm joining with other women, maybe of my age or even younger, who are saying, no, we are in this together. And that's the energy of the feminine that's stepping forward at this time, is creating more rules, new rules, I should say. And I know it was spoken about today, how Saturn is in Capricorn, Jupiter's in Capricorn, Pluto's in Capricorn. And this is all about the deep feminine coming to the surface, not to battle against the masculine, but to take her rightful role as a lead in terms of who sets the rules, who sets the plan, who makes the plan for the future. And is that plan worthy of everybody on the planet, not just the few? Is this plan worthy of what's going to happen to our societies, not just immediate next 10 or 20 years, but 7 generations forward? So I hope that that gives you a kind of a background. I have never known what it was like to be abused or put down by a man, because it wasn't my upbringing. And I'm saying that because I know that some of you may well have been abused or put down, but I'm not coming from a place of my woundedness. I'm coming from a place of strength. And I know that many of you who are listening are also in that position. So let's just set the scene a little bit more, and then I'm going to move forward. We've got some PowerPoints, but my purpose today is to very much work with you so that you also meet yourself in these different aspects of the feminine. And this is why I called it embodying the sacred feminine. This is about you knowing who you are, you remembering who you are. Not me telling you or you going away, oh, I've got more information. It's more like, wow, I didn't know that was in there. Wow, I'm really happy to be here. Because as I say, everything we need is there now. We don't need to go outside ourselves. We're in that stage now of awakening ourselves. And that's happening on many levels. So where are we now? We are at the end of a 26,000 year cycle. I did a lot of work within the 2012 cycle, and it wasn't something I inherently went out to do, but often I'm asked to give a talk or write a book, and it's only afterwards I realize what the spirit world have asked me to do. That many a time I don't understand, I don't necessarily understand, but it's like, well, why am I doing this? So back in 2006, I started writing the book, which is now The Heart of the Great Mother. Initially, it was published as 2012 and the Galactic Center, because the publishers saw this as relevant to 2012. And I said, well, there's going to be a problem because after 2012, nobody will want the book. But after that, several years went by and they said, look, there's so much information in this book that's relevant to now. Could you re-edit it, bring it up to date? And which is what I did. And I made more of a focus of the feminine than I had previously. But back in 2006, I was shown that we are in a time now that we are calling in. This is a time that has been predicted for thousands of years. It's a time why we are all here on the planet now. So you're not here by chance. None of us are here by chance. We won the lottery ticket. We won the gift. And the reason there are so many souls on the planet at this time is because every soul wanted to be here, because there's never been, or let's say not for 26,000 years, there's never been a better time for transforming your soul or wakening up to what your soul is about. So many people came, said, oh, I want to be there, I want to be there. But I've also noticed a lot of people have said, I don't want to be there, I want to leave. So this is the lottery ticket you won. You chose to be here because we knew that because of the cycle of the earth, we could say within the sun, around the sun, within context of the galaxy, that this was an amazing time. And I'll just bring you into context with the galaxy. The sun has been aligned to the center of the galaxy, which is the heart of the Great Mother, for several years. It started in 1996 and will go to 2026. So this period of 30 years is a very important time. And that's why we're saying astronomically, this was an amazing time of transformation. And you might say, well, what does it matter that the sun is aligned? And I'm saying if the sun is aligned, we inherently as the earth are also aligned. The center of the galaxy for the indigenous people, the ancient people, was where we were born from and where we will return to. She is the milk. The word galaxy comes from gala, milk. It is the milk from which we are born and which we will return to. And what we now understand is that the center of the galaxy is a black hole, but it's also a white hole. There's never a black hole without a white hole. So if you watch the studies, the stars around the black hole are pulled in. We are not necessarily able to see the birthing of new stars. But the center of the galaxy is a torus, a T-O-R-U-S. A torus is a self-perpetuating energy field from which things are taken in and birthed out, death and birth occurring at the same time. And this has always been seen as the qualities of the feminine. And that, I know you did some work with that this morning. I'm delighted to hear. So as we are aligning to the center of the galaxy, we are aligning to this Taurus. And where do we find our own Taurus? We find it in our heart. So the movement of the electromagnetic field of the heart is also a Taurus. And the center of the earth is a Taurus. The center of our sun is a Taurus. And a Taurus is really, another way of saying it, is a portal into interdimensional, multidimensional spaces. So we are aligned to our multidimensional self through our hearts. We are being awakened through our hearts to who we truly are. But to get there, again, I know this was spoken about, we need to experience ourselves in our wholeness and not to have bits of us hanging out there that we don't accept. And we need to accept that death and birth are right in tune with each other, and they are part of the feminine connection to eternity. So we are in that now. As I said, back in 2006, when I wrote the book and I had this wonderful meditation, I was told this is a period that we will be going into, and here we are. And I was always told that 2023 was going to be the most challenging time. So you might say, oh no, this is challenging now, we're not there yet. There's going to be more. But we are being given the chance in an amazing way. You might not feel it with the lockdown, but we are in a decompression chamber. We're in a cocoon, whatever words you want to use. But we have chosen, not being forced to do this, we're choosing to let go of all those things no longer in harmony with our soul and deepen our awareness of what works for us. Because there are 3 phases of what I'm going to call the 3-day ritual. Not only for women, can be for men. I have several men who follow this at the dark moon. But there are 3 phases that we as women know how to do extremely well. Release, connect, inspire. And I'm going to be taking you through a few meditations to help you to do that, because this is what we need to be doing now. Men and women, our feminine is saying, what do I need to release? And maybe you've been aware of that. Maybe you've been saying, you know, I know I can't get out my house, but I'm actually quite happy because I don't want to do that anymore. Or maybe you become more aware of things that matter to you that you had forgotten. So the releasing is many people not being able to go out their house. They're having to release even their jobs, their means of making money, which I think is devastating. I'm not not saying that isn't. But in that space, I'm also hearing people say, well, because of that, I went back to taking up art. Now, I don't want to make a career of this, but when I'm doing art, I connect more deeply to myself. Or I've started making bread, and I hadn't made bread for a long time, so I'm now recognizing how I feed my body better. Or I'm going for walks, which I hadn't done before, because now I can go out for a walk, and it feels so good to connect to the earth. So the more we release, the more we connect. You also notice the things that you're missing. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. But the reason we release is not to be abandoned. It's to let go of the distractions of the outside world so we can bring ourselves back to connecting to the wholeness of who we are. And I'll speak a little bit more about that in a while. And from that deep connection, we then can be inspired with new growth. So if just to keep those things in mind, release, connect, inspire. But so if I want to say it in a different way, I could say caterpillar is my life before lockdown. All these little legs running around doing many things. Cocoon is where I am. And there are a few of my caterpillar legs still going, oh, I gotta be busy, whatever it is that my little caterpillar legs think is so important. But the more I connect deeply, the more out of that cocoon will become the butterfly. And I notice many people trying to get out of the cocoon into the butterfly. But if you go out too soon, your butterfly will only have a limited flight. So the deeper we connect, the greater the flight we're going to have. And at this time, I'm really suggesting that we don't meditate out our body. Maybe you have a meditation practice that takes you out. This is a time never before to connect deeply into Mother Earth. And I again will take you through an exercise to do that. But why I'm saying that is that if you've noticed, if you have had the chance to do that, Mother Earth is really happy. I hear people say, oh, all of this is happening to punish us. No, it's not. It's happening because we have called it in. And Mother Earth is also going through her transformation. She wants to reach her perfect state as we want to reach our perfect state. And perfect doesn't mean perfect as in judgment. It means I want to be all that I am. I want to exist not just in an energetic format. I want to express my soul's blueprint here on earth. That's what we're doing. This is why we're here now, to experience that fully. And so this is not just a short period. This is a 26,000 year cycle. And I'm just going to round this piece up and ask if there are any questions. But as the way in which we've been living for 26,000 years is, as I describe it, as a hologram. And if you've ever seen holograms, they look really real. So we create our reality from our beliefs. What we believe is what we see. And when we see it, we believe it. So, just down to the sky is blue. I see the sky is blue, therefore my perception is the sky is blue. My belief is the sky is blue, so it becomes blue. Now, this might be, well, of course it's blue. Well, no, it may not be. It's just that we've all been told it's blue, and now we see it as blue. I'm trying to break open your thinking a little bit. I know that when I work with maybe 100 odd people in a workshop, and I say, I want you all to walk down that street and then come back within 20 minutes and tell me what you see, it's fascinating how people will tell me so many range of things, and yet we've all seen the same thing. So we only see what we already know. And what's happening now, and I can see it with my psychic eyes, I can see the hologram shimmering. I've seen it for many years now, where the holograph is shimmering. It's almost the energetic form is being seen more clearly. If you saw the Matrix, you remember how it was all those lines. That's what it is. It's just an energetic form. So the hologram is just like the Matrix, a whole lot of photographic plate on a photographic plate. But when we look at it, we bring a part of that hologram alive. So we have called, or what is happening is that the old hologram, the way we've perceived our world, is dying. It's dissolving so we can evolve. And when that happens, it sends us into this state of, well, who am I? What am I? What am I going to do? How am I going to do it? And most of that comes from what I call our masculine chakras. Our masculine chakras are our throat chakra, our solar plexus, and our base chakra. Feminine chakras are our crown chakra, heart chakra, sacral chakra, and root chakra, which I'll talk about later. Why I'm saying that is our doing nature, which includes our thinking nature. Give me some answers, give me some answers, let me read the book, let me have some answers, let me know what's going on, is going wild. Our doing nature from our solar plexus is, oh my goodness, it's all the fear, the shame, all those things that are being applied. And our base chakra is about much more practical doing. I've got to go for a walk, I should go and do this, I must eat better. I'm sure I'm not the only person whose masculine chakras are going, ah! But my heart and my crown and my sacral chakra and my root are all going, calm it, Christine. Just calm it. We're fine. This is what we wanted. So as we go through this time, a lot of fear is coming up. And if I can put over nothing else, the new world is already here. The new matrix of the new world is here. The hologram is here. It was born in 2012. And it's waiting to be populated by us. But what I keep being told, we do not want to take the old thinking, the old beliefs, the old way of being into the new world. And that's why we are in many different ways of describing it, the eye of the storm. We are passing through the eye of the needle. We are being encouraged to find our true center. Because what we are creating is a new world for 26,000 years. And we chose this. Now there is a group of individuals, we'll just call them that, who are trying to create a cloud around us, and you can understand what I'm saying, cloud, grid, that is trying to create a new hologram or a false hologram where humans will not be able to connect to their true essence. And I'm putting it in those words. I'm only saying that anybody who is inviting fear or shame or mandates or you must are trying to stop us tapping into our wholeness. And whatever your choices are, I have to say, it's almost as if this cloud that's being spread out into the world during this time of uncertainty is so insignificant to who you are. You could literally blow it away if you wanted. And I'm only saying, just keep connecting to yourself, connect to Mother Earth, which I'll be working with you, connect to the sky, the moon cycles, and you will do fine. And this is a phrase from the Native Americans, 1,000 years of peace when women heal their hearts. And I've added to that their wombs. And you may or may not know, but your womb, whether you still have it or not as a woman, is the most powerful place for us. And what we are doing is dealing with a lot of misinformation, if we've ever had misinformation and fake news. It's the misinformation that's been coming out about women, and this is what I'm wanting just to give a few ideas about. So a long, long time ago, certainly, as you may know, we can take ourselves back in history to where the feminine was appreciated, acknowledged. That was 40,000 years ago. We have these little figurines that I'll show you. Up to about 3,500 years ago, women and men lived together in societies that were egalitarian. And I like to say that because sometimes I hear people say, well, wasn't it a matriarchal society before? No, we've lived in equality for a long time. And so this isn't unknown to us. And we respected each other, we honored each other, and the body and its beauty and its sensuality was enjoyed without any shame. So here's an image from Knossos, it's in Crete. The body was seen as, wow, isn't this the most amazing thing? And I know that's what all of you thought when you woke up this morning and looked in the mirror. You went, wow, what an amazing looking body I have. I'm joking, maybe you did or didn't. But the fact of the matter is we've been told that the body is shameful, or it's shameful to enjoy it, or shameful to live in it. And there's never been a more important time to live in your body. This is what will give you the guidance that you're looking at. And men were honored, excuse any of my Americanisms, but honored for physical strength, planning, and fulfillment. The women were honored for purification, nurturing, inspiration, and birth. And everybody was happy. So we didn't need to, we had equality. We had honoring of each other. And then things change. And here's the images that sometimes I think I'm moving towards some of these wonderful images. These are these Venus images. And many thousands have been found. And what's interesting is that very few masculine images have been found, apart from a phallic syndrome, as a phallic symbol. And I think, isn't that interesting that the women were so honored? So when I studied this, there were so many comments about, well, these were used for sex, for, you know, helping a man feel lustful. No, that's our idea. I'm not saying that men weren't lustful 40,000 years ago. But what I recognize when I've read books about archaeology, it's so often that we're putting onto figurines and things that have happened, our own 21st century thinking. So these images were, as you might see, there's often three. Three is the magic number for women. So for women, it's our magic number for women is 3. It's the Trinity, the true Trinity that we're going to work with in a moment, the Virgin Mother Crone. And 3 a.m. is often the time when women are awoken, isn't that true? Now, I'm not saying men aren't, but many a time I will find myself waking at 3 a.m. And why is that? Because 3 a.m. is the time when we have least connection to the physical world. Our cortisol level is at the least level. So your connection to spirit is the greatest at 3 a.m. So my Native American friends would say that at 3 a.m. the women would get up and tell stories to each other. And these weren't just stories, you know, how's your day been? They were wisdom stories, channeled stories. And I love that idea, except please don't wake me up at 3 a.m. to tell me your story. But the fact of the matter is, women have always been the ones who could gather the wisdom in, they were the carrier of even of the stories. They were the carrier of the fire. Later on, the men became the carrier of the fires or the guardians of the fire. But women were the ones that carried the fire because that fire was in the heart. That's why we have words like hearth, heart. The fire is in the heart. Same word as earth, as you understand, has the same lettering in it. So when women are in their heart, they connect to the earth, and they are the fire that feeds the family. Without the hearth, there is no inspiration. It was the reason why we had Vestal Virgins and why the fire had to be kept alight. It wasn't these women didn't have sex or were virginal in that way. It was the fact they had purity of soul, so they could always connect to who they were all the time. And this is a figurine of a figure that was found from 8,000 years ago in Anatolia in Turkey. And she is seen as the queen of the worlds above and below. She has a leopard and a lion either side of her. And this is a symbolism that occurs many times. We see these ancient figurines who are both queen of the heavens, queen of the earth, because they cycle like the moon does. They cycle through that period. It's the same as Venus. So Venus can be, as you know, the morning star or the evening star. And when it was called the evening star, it went down into the underworld as far as the ancient people saw it. And then when it came out from the underworld, it became the morning star. And the word Lucifer comes from Venus, which is the light of the morning, the light of the dawn, the bringer of the dawn. And so what the ancient people were terrified of this so-called star, which is a planet, going into the underworld. And what was this thing that rose up on the other side? We're seeing it in the morning now. So Lucifer was that which rises from the underworld and that has power within it. And I think Venus, as the morning and evening star, really telling us that wherever you go, whether you heavens or into the underworld, I will always be with you. Venus is love. Love, eternal love, never leaves us. And in fact, I just want to say the word hell actually came from the goddess called Hel, H-E-L, the goddess of regeneration, not retribution. So again, I'll be talking about that in a little while, that everything that happened around 1500 BC and onwards was to make sure that men and women disconnected from the power that lives within Mother Earth, what I call dragon power within the earth, underneath our feet. So calling this dragon fire the hell of damnation or the underworld you never want to go to was to make sure we never tapped into the full power of who we are until today, because that's what we're going to be doing, is tapping into that power. So many words got twisted around, so many ways in which we looked at the feminine got twisted from the fear, from the patriarchy of how powerful women really are. And this is a nice little image that says 2,000 years before Christ, skinny men worshipped fat women, or lovely, beautiful women, And then 2,000 years after Christ, fat men are worshipping skinny women. And I think that's a truth there. There's a lot of idea in there. And that's true evolution. Fortunately, my husband likes all of it. I'll say somewhere in the middle, hopefully. It was a good thing I married my husband or met my husband when I was 50. I always said that was perfect age. He didn't have any perception of me before my croning years. So from 1500 BC onwards, the patriarchy invasion occurred. And many of you will have studied this, looked at this. It didn't occur in one wave. It didn't happen overnight. But truly, within that period of time, by even up to the time of the birth of Jesus, lots of the feminine got suppressed. As you may know, that there was a wife of God, Asherah, he had a wife, and her symbol was this tree where you could eat the fruit of the tree and you could drink the juice of the tree. Have you heard that before? So really, this idea of eating the flesh of the bread and the wine came from Asherah, who was actually the wife of Yahweh. So everything got integrated into the Christian or the religious format. And it's fascinating to look back and say, wow, what was going on then? So prior to 1500 BC, everything that existed had God within it, had a life force. So there was very much worship of a Mother Earth goddess. And the belief, as we know from places like Stonehenge, of reenacting that relationship between so-called heaven and earth. So much we're now discovering about Stonehenge, Woodhenge, that whole plateau was all about following the cycles, the seasons. And I love the fact that we're starting to understand ourselves as seasonal beings. Lunar phases matter to us, that we're not stuck in this idea that it's just about birth and, we either die here or we're born here. We're doing it all at the same time. And this is so important for us to understand. Then around 1500 BC, Yahweh came in. And Yahweh, if you go back into looking at some of the Sitchin work, Zachariah's Sitchin work, he talks about how Yahweh was just one of the many gods that was worshipped at that time. And he was seen as a sky god. And the sky god became the source of wisdom and source of creation. And what happened is, instead of us looking down, as I say, to the consciousness that lives within the earth, we were told, look up, this is where you're going to get everything from. And you see many traditions changing their format from looking down and finding that tradition, that consciousness, to looking up and meditating out their bodies or denying their body. Many of the traditions around the time, I know you were working with the Cathars, many of those traditions believed the body was less important than your spirit, and that the whole joy was to get out of your body. And I'm saying, no, get into your body. Your body is the most amazing alchemical vessel for transformation. If you understand sacred geometry, it is absolutely brought together through so many, what we call golden mean, ratios of golden mean. Again, I can give you images of that later on. But what I'm trying to say is your body is everything. And for many of us, especially as women, haven't been told that our body is important, or maybe we've been shamed our body, or we've shamed ourselves through it. And as someone once said to me, if we took our body to marriage guidance, it would probably divorce us right away. And I think that's true. I love you, I love you, I love you. So the body is very important to us. And around that time, so many things happened. So here I'm saying, in the past 30 years, much of women's success has come from becoming a mini man. As my statement from my husband, the most beautiful thing being in the universe is a woman in her power. And I want to just maybe take a little side road on this to talk about, I want to just talk about how we saw that shift in consciousness from the equality to the Yahweh energy. So the Yahweh energy became more pyramidal, hierarchical. Prior to that, women and men would live in what we'd call a community. And women might be married to a man, it wasn't that it wasn't, but we would also have sex with whoever we fancied. And the men probably did the same thing. So when women would give birth to their child, the woman would say, I know that I'm the mother, but I don't know who the father is. So she would pass her property, her money, everything that she had, her identity and her labels, down through her to the child. And the men would get nothing. So this even happened within, I've heard within the Native American cultures, that if a woman said, okay, I'm finished with you as a husband, when you went to the teepee, and when he went to the teepee of his so-called wife, and he saw all his belongings at the door, he would have to leave. But there we are, there's this thing. So that was a sign you were finished. So what happened is women would have babies with whoever they chose, but the men wouldn't gain the power. And really what shifted around that time, probably about 1000 BC, was the men said, this isn't okay. We can't be powerless in this society. This was called a matrilineal society, where the line went down through the women. So what happened was that read it in the Bible, where it says, okay, we're going to have a new law. All right, from now on, no sex before marriage, then we get married, and no sex except with your husband. And if you have sex outside your marriage, you will be you'll be sent away, you'll be rejected. And that was the reason why in the Bible we have one man, one wife. It was nothing to do with morality, it was to do with money. Everything has always been about money. All the witch hunts in the Middle Ages were all about money. How do I take that piece of land from that woman? Oh, I know, I'll call her a witch. And so nothing new, eh? Everything's about money. Everything's about power. But what happened, instead of women saying, I can have sex with anybody, and again, maybe we were rampantly having sex with everybody, but instead of saying I have sex with everybody, now we were living in what we would call a harem. And a harem was, there was one man who made a choice who would be the favored woman in order to get all the favor. And if he favored her, then he favored the child that she bore. So what happened was women started to compete with each other. And this is relevant to today. Women are more powerful together. But what I watch is women still competing with each other and putting each other down. And that's been present now for almost 3,000 years, where women feel that if this woman is more powerful than I am, I will not be favored. Now, I'm only putting that over as an idea to you all. Where do you see that maybe happening in your own life? Where are you competing? Where are you, if I may say, bitchy? That's what we do very well. Where are we manipulating? And when I hear a woman say, oh, his wife is such a frigid character, she's a bit crazy, but he loves me and I love him, I just think we buy that one every time. It's like, are you sure? Maybe you say, yes, she was. But why do we cheat on our own sister? Why do we cheat on our own friends? I'm trying to say sisterhood. So what I say is, if you want to have sex with my husband, come and ask me. And if I say, hey, do, I'm quite happy for you to come and have sex with him because I'm exhausted, then we'll all be okay. I believe we would bring down governments if women would stop cheating on their sisterhood. How does that sound like an idea? Yay? I feel that this is something that's been going on for far too long. And even if we're not talking about having sex with someone, I'm asking you, do you trust other women? Do you trust your mother? Did you trust your mother? did you feel safe to nest into your mother? Because if we have a poor relationship with our mother, we probably have a poor relationship with other women. And we definitely have a poor relationship with Mother Earth. So let me again just check in. Anybody want to ask any questions or make any comments based on that?
Yes, we've actually got a question from Rana, and Rana's saying, was that happening in all civilizations?
It was, Rana. I've looked across the globe, and I know that many of you come from different parts of the globe. It truly was happening. Interestingly, what we're going to talk about is the triple goddess coming up now, but the triple goddess is found in so many cultures, and then one of those goddesses disappeared. We ended up with just a duality. So I'm saying is, yes, every culture went through the same thing at different times. And when I travel, I listen to the mythologies, our mythologies that we call. It's so interesting how mythologies got twisted around. I work in Japan, for instance, and dragon energy is usually, earth dragon energy is female, but in Japan it got twisted to being this nasty masculine energy. In many cultures, of course, we talked about killing the dragon or killing the serpents. So I'm only just saying the mythologies may not talk directly to women and women, but it's talking about the same thing of being scared of something, of being nervous of something. So thank you, Rana. Okay, so now you've had a break, let's look at meeting our triple goddess, the three faces of this sacred feminine that we've been talking about. And these are three faces: Virgin, Mother, and Crone. And the Virgin is the creator, the Mother is the nurturer, and the Crone is what we call chaos or release, as I've been talking about. And this is seen, we're going to do a meditation with this just when everybody's settled. The Virgin is seen as the waxing moon, the Mother is the waning moon, and the Crone is the dark moon. In many ways, there are just three phases that, even to the seasons, we may say, well, no, there are 4 seasons, but in many traditions, it is just, there's winter, and there is spring and early summer, and then there is summer and fall, and then back to winter. So that the spring and the early summer are the Virgin, and the late summer and the fall are the Mother, and then the Crone is the winter time. And as you may know, in many traditions, there are just literally these 2 forces that work together, the winter and the summer. They're also hand in hand, and the Mother contains them all. So this idea of Trinity is seen in so many different traditions. Here we have that same pattern. And presently I'm working on my podcast with going through those 8 phases of the moon, so that we understand ourselves as moon beings. Because during this time of great transition, where we're neither in the old world nor are we in the new world, it's good to have something else to anchor into. And what we're anchoring into is the sky above, and everybody can see the moon wherever you are in the world. And you also have the earth under your feet. So to be able to anchor yourself through those 2 things is a very valuable tool for you. So when I see that maybe everybody is there, let us do a meditation. And I'm just going to go back to my image back here. And if you want to turn off your camera, you can, so you can meditate in calmness and in your own way. And we're going to meet our own Virgin Mother Crone. So if you would, to just be able to close your eyes. You take a short breath in and a long out breath down through your body. And just repeat that a few times, using that out breath to clear all the thoughts that are going around in your head. Just breathe them down through your body into the earth. And just do that once again. And breathe down through your body into the earth. Now take your awareness to your heart chakra. And through your heart chakra, see yourself in a clearing, in a forest, in the center of which is a beautiful fire. Just be aware of the colors around you, the colors of the trees, colors of the fire. And the fire, the crackling of it. Feel the heat. And within this fire are all three qualities of the sacred feminine: the virgin, the mother, and the crone. And the virgin qualities are those of inspiration, enthusiasm. They're the sparks of the fire. And you're watching those sparks, maybe of different colors, purples, blues, reds. And as you watch, out of the fire steps your own inner virgin. Let your mind free itself to see what the first thing is that steps out. She may be human, she may be animal, she may be anything. But what does your inner feminine, inner virgin look like? How does she appear to you? And what would be the first three adjectives you'd use to describe her? How does she appear? She reaches out and gives you a specific gift, a gift that is relevant to her and the energy she carries. Receive that gift now. And she steps back, and you return to the fire, and out of the fire, the warmth of the fire, the heat of the fire, steps your mother archetype. How does your mother archetype look? Your inner mother. She is your nurturer. She is the one that takes care of you. What three ways does she take care of you, your inner mother? How does she nurture you? And what words of encouragement would she give to you now? She steps to one side. And then you look back at the fire and you see how the fire is burning. Maybe it's burning wood or something is being burnt and transformed. This is the work of your inner crone, your inner wise woman. Let her step out of the fire. How does your inner crone look to you? How does she appear? And what adjectives would you use to describe her? And she is winter. She is the dark moon. She's asking at this time for us to give to her those things that are no longer relevant in our life, so she may burn them. Listen to her. She suggests to you what you may wish to let go of in your life, to burn. What would you give to her now? And now, let the three faces of the Divine Feminine be there before you. How do they get on with each other? And is there one of them that you have a particular, you can relate to very well? And is there one of them that perhaps you don't relate to quite so well? Which one would you need to or think that you might give more energy to? Now, if you wish, you can bring these characters back with you. And to do that, you would either place your hand on your heart or just say to yourself, I accept you as part of me into my heart. Each in turn. And as you do that, you see the fire, the image and the warmth of the fire start to disperse, and you bring your awareness fully back to the room where you are and opening your eyes in your own time. And I know that you brought, it was suggested that you have some pen or something you could write on. If you wish to make notes, then please do so. And perhaps I will just share a little bit about these different characters, just as you write. The meaning of the word virgin is to be complete unto yourself. To be complete unto yourself without the need for another to make you whole. That's why I say it has nothing to do with being virginal in the sense of maybe not being married, etc. It is to be complete. And the understanding of that completeness is that the blueprint of who you already are is already present fully in you, within us all. So when we tap into our intuition, and each of these archetypes have an intuitive quality, but the quality of intuition that comes from the Virgin is the quality of inspiration. new ideas, the aha, I'm going to do that today. So what is that virginal quality, or how easy is it for you to listen to that quality, having that great idea? That's that feminine. And having worked with intuition all my life and worked with people with intuition, women are equally intuitive. And what I actually often find is that men will follow their intuition clearly because they don't get so distracted. Women often get a bit more distracted by other people or other needs. So the ability to listen to intuition at that level of, oh, that's what I'm going to do, is in everybody. The following through with it is the harder part. So it's a little bit like planting a seed and you go, I'm going to do this. But if it doesn't get followed by the mother energy that nurtures that seed, then the idea just dies. So during this time of our cocooning, of our looking at ourselves, what ideas have you had that perhaps have not been fed and watered? Or what ideas have you had that you really don't want to feed and water anymore? You think, I'm finished with that. Or you realize it was never going to be something that interested you. So what's important is to recognize that the virgin is the one that creates that idea, that birthing of the idea, but it is the mother quality that nurtures it. So this is just a thought. Are there ideas that you want to follow through on? And this is a great opportunity. That's what lots of people are telling me. Wow, I've wanted to do this for many years, but I didn't have the time. Now I'm having the time to do it. And having that mother quality can be nurturing you with confidence. That's what mother energy does. It gives a confidence to us. Go for it, being your cheerleader. So when you moved on into your mother qualities, I wonder what your mother qualities said to you, your inner mother. How does she nurture you? How do you nurture yourself? How do you bring yourself pleasure? How do you give yourself nice, strokes and approval? Do you feel nurtured by yourself? Do you feel nurtured, not by other people, but by you? And again, that's what the mother energy is about. So when the body, and again, I'm coming back to the body, I've worked with the body so much in my own life in terms of my work. Often it's hard for us to know what are the things that we personally need to nurture our body. But again, maybe we're in a time where we're looking at ourselves and say, how do I nurture myself? How do I make time for myself? If you've got busy families, if you've got lots, now so many children at home, or most of the children at home, women are often telling me they're having difficulty finding space for their own nurturing. So it's almost like intensifying that. Men the same, because for the male, often they're on a cycle of what do I need to do? So our inner feminine mother is, how do I nurture the needs of myself? And if you understand astrology, you can look at your moon sign. Your moon sign tells you, how do I nurture myself? So for some of you, moon in Taurus, it might be eating. Moon in Gemini, it might be talking to someone. So how do you nurture yourself? How do you come back to your moon? And I spend a lot of time in my book talking about the different phases of the moon. What phase were you born in? Because whatever phase you were born in, i.e., where was the moon in relationship to the sun when you were born, that also shows you how you nurture yourself, what's important to you. Again, you can look at your north and south nodes of the moon. Again, it's a part of that cycle. So the mother energy is so much about the nurturing, the pleasure, the listening to our bodies. Sometimes our body says, I don't want to do that, but our heads tell us we should. Again, this is a great time to listen truly to the depth of your body, of what it needs. Having worked again with illness for so much of my life, so many people tell me when I say what was going on when I got sick, that's the question I ask, they will say to me, I know why I got cancer. And I think, well, if you know why you have cancer, why are we not using that information in the work? So I'm asking to listen to the body, mother ourselves. and listen to what the body wisdom is telling us, because that's where our power is coming from on many levels. It's the love we have through the connectivity through our body, through the earth. And then we have the crone. And again, I've met people who don't like the word crone, so they've used the matriarchal word, or they've used the wise woman word. You can also call it the dark goddess. But the crone is a good word for being able to say she is the one, as I said, who will burn away that which is no longer needed. And she's often seen as, people see her as a witch, which isn't fair because that isn't how she has to be seen. She is the one who is representing Kali, Lilith, Ereshkigal, Mary Magdalene, that many of these characters were the characters who were willing to see right through someone and being able to say, I will burn away everything that is not true to you. That is the true meaning of the crone. The crone has the eyes to see and the transformative qualities to bring about change. And so many of you might carry crone energy. Many of you might have that insight. And you may also walk around with a cauldron that is saying, hey, jump in here and I'll bring about change for you. And other people may say, go away, leave me alone, which is right, it's their choice to do that. But the crone energy is always about transformation. But that transformation often means, let me help you change what is no longer working for you. So when we call in our own inner crone, we're often calling her in to say, burn away all those things that are no longer in harmony with my soul. And only when we do that, and we see winter doing that, winter drops the leaves go to the earth, because that will allow the new birth to occur in the spring. And we are in a croning time. We are in a time where things are breaking away. And they're breaking away because they no longer will harmonize with what we want to become later on. So our identities, which we've created in order to know ourselves, this is what I believe, this is what I think, this is what I know, they're the things that are breaking down to say, what is true is if we need that identity to maintain our security, then we've never really embodied it. And when we embody it, we no longer need to speak it because it's who we are. So that embodiment of what it is that we are is the freedom that we're gaining at the moment, to be true to that entity. So I hope you found it useful to work with your Virgin Mother Crone, and whether or not you saw that there were facets of each that you may need, you may know very well, and facets that you may want to bring a little bit more into your beingness. But each of them work with intuition. And I just want to say, of course, intuition is the messenger of the soul. It's the feminine, it's the still small voice, but it has different qualities. Sometimes that messenger can be, yay, let's go and do this today, that virginal, that excitement, the aha, that wakening up. Sometimes that messenger, that intuition is softer, quieter, it's more mother-like. Like, stop doing that. That isn't working for you. That isn't nurturing you. Come back home. Come back to the hearth. Come back to the heart. And then the crone energy, as I say, because I've worked with illness for so many years, the crone energy is often saying, this isn't working for you. This is just destroying you. And maybe some of you have been through a dark night of the soul. Maybe some of you have been through a time where you went, I know I need to let go, but I don't think I'm ready. And sometimes illness is, for my part, that is what I've seen, that often illness is giving us a window to change. It's what I call not a problem, it's a solution. It's the messenger that says something has to shift here. It's not working. And that's crone energy. So I hope that helped you on there. I'm just going to step forward. This cycle is also seen in the menstrual cycle. And whether you still have a menstrual cycle or not, this is relevant here. So because we have the release phase that I talked about is actually the time of the crone, the time of the period, the moon time. The growth period is after the moon time after the dark moon. And then the nurturing phase is what we call the progesterone phase, the phase that comes after the full moon up to the dark moon. So let me just show you this next piece. So release, connect, inspire. This would be the 3-day ritual, and we are coming up to a new moon. So whether you do you work with the 3-day ritual during your period, the first 3 days of your period, or whether you do this around the dark moon if you no longer have a period or your period is being led by hormones. So if you do not have a period or you are hormonally led, then I suggest connecting to the dark moon. And the dark moon is the first day, is the day before the new moon. So what you want to do, and I've got, this isn't just for women, I've got men who follow this. On the day of the first day, the day before the new moon, you want to find out on your calendar, or you want to find an app that tells you what is the day before the new moon. That is day 1 of the dark moon ritual. And on that day, the way I do it is to write down, what am I celebrating about this month that's just gone? What have I learned about myself? What have I learned? Who have I met within myself on that day? And what am I ready to release? So all I would say to you, don't rush to saying I'm releasing fear. If you can get a little deeper into what fear are you releasing, or what anger are you releasing? The emotion, yes, you're releasing it, but why did you develop this in the first place? In other words, if we created our lives, which I believe we do, we also have a purpose for the stories and the beliefs that we carry. So if you had an event in your life this month, of course, there's been a big event, but if something happened in your life this month, you want to be saying, what am I celebrating from that? What did I learn about myself this month? What part of me did I meet in that event? And then I can let go of the emotion or the story that's around it. That's a kind of a big part. So this would be a good time to practice that. We're just coming into the balsamic moon, which is just before the dark moon. So this would be a time to do this. And on that first day, on day 1, in the evening, I take a glass of water, I put my hands around that water, and I infuse into the water everything I'm ready to let go of. So I first of all say, I'm celebrating this. I am then say, I've learned this about myself. I accept into my heart this part of me that I found in that event or that story. And then I pour the water onto the ground and I say, Great Mother, please take this from me so that I no longer carry it. That's on day 1. Day 2 is a day of connection. So we're going to do a rooting exercise. I'm going to do this in a very short time. We root into Mother Earth. We connect to Mother Earth beneath our feet. We connect to our eternal self, our eternal feminine. It is a feminine earth. It is carrying that energy. And that energy is about the rooting, the connecting, the nurturing. So on that second day is a good day perhaps not to do too many things of going out of your home, and of course you can't do that too much now, but to allow this to be a day of nurturing. And on the third day, to be very mindful that in the morning, spend some time meditating, rooting yourself, and bringing up from the earth new ideas, new inspiration. And so then you share that with the family, you share that and say, this is what we're going to do this month. And off you go into the next month and until the next time that the 3 days come back. As I say, if you have periods, if you have a moon time, you're going to do this at the same time. First day of your period, second day, third day, and then you'll come round and repeat it all again with your next period. Again, if you want to have the ritual from me, please, you're very welcome to write to me on info@christinepage.com, and I'll send this ritual to you so that you can see it for yourself. Good. So let us do a connecting exercise. And again, I'll speak about it a bit before we go there. Beneath our feet, as I mentioned, is this amazing energy. And this energy is what we call the grid system of the earth. Now, many of you may know about ley lines, but if you imagine that not only do we have an aura, but the earth has an aura. And within that aura, we have levels of astral body, mental body, soul body, and we see those all, and spiritual body, etc. But we see those all as just interconnecting geometric shapes. Don't want to go too far to there. But within this grid of the earth is everything that is ever going to be created on this earth. It's an earth, it's literally a blueprint of creation already exists in Mother Earth. And when we tap into that, we're tapping into the energy of creation, which allows us to draw that up through our body and to give birth to something. So just as women are born with 300,000 eggs, and each of those eggs is symbolic for what are we giving birth to this month, and maybe I need to come back to that, but within the earth is also everything that you ever said you wanted to create on this earth. This earth is a place of creation. So that what we will be doing is saying, on this day of connection, we're going to send our roots down into Mother Earth. We're going to connect to what is known as the root chakra that we disconnected from previously, which is 9 feet under our feet, 3 meters under our feet. And we will then draw up into our beingness whatever it is that we're going to give birth to on that third day. So the root chakra, and let me just go through some of my slides here so I can show you this. This is what happened, is that 3,500 years ago, we became disconnected from that root chakra. And that root chakra is also known as the earth child chakra, etc. And we made the base chakra our place of security. So we started to follow whatever the base chakra told us to who we should be. And those of you who have done work, you will see that we call it Kundalini energy, and the Kundalini fell asleep. And she fell asleep, Kundalini is a serpent goddess, she fell asleep because she got disconnected from this dragon queen. So I'm suggesting that we're going to do an exercise where we reconnect to that dragon queen. We reconnect to our root chakra. Because this is the power of the feminine within the earth, and it's the power of the feminine that everybody has a right to pull into their body to empower themselves, to exist in a creative way that can never come just from the base chakra. So if you're ready to work with me on this, if you'd like to once again, especially if you can have your feet on the ground, that would be perfect. To be able to close your eyes. I'm not watching anybody, so you can do if you want your eyes open or closed, but it's better when your eyes are closed. And once again, take a short breath in, and then a long out breath down through your body. Right down into your feet. Again, try to do work again. Breath in and a long breath out. See if you can make your feet tingle. See whether you can feel all your toes on the ground. Can you feel your heel on the ground? And now, imagine that on the soles of your feet are magnets. And there's an even larger magnet in Mother Earth. And she is pulling you into her. Not from a place of needing to surrender, it's a place of comfort, it's a place of nesting. Allow that feeling of relaxation to pull you into her. So just breathing out, I can relax into this. Now from the soles of your feet, see roots going down into Mother Earth, into all directions, some to the side, some deep. And let the moist soil of Mother Earth surround your roots now. And she holds you without holding you too tight to suffocate you, but she supports you. Feel that relaxation, that peace that comes. Now go to the end of one of your longest roots. That is your root chakra. And flowing through that root chakra is golden energy, golden creative energy. And it has the blueprint of everything you're here to be, everything you're here to do. Knowing that's running through your feet, just bring your awareness to your heart chakra, which carries that blueprint of the soul, that uniqueness of who you are. Let that be a beacon of light, drawing up into your roots the energy required for you to live your life fully. Feel that golden light coming up towards your heart, seeking it out. Up your legs, up into the body, especially for women, the womb, the men, prostate. And up into the heart as this glorious energy meets the energy of your heart. Fall in love. That resonance. Moving up through the throat chakra, so you express this love, you express your excitement, your enthusiasm for who you are, your passion. And then up through the third eye, the marriage of the masculine and feminine. And then out the top of your head, showering out like a beautiful fountain. Creating a bubble of light from above your head to beneath your feet. Expressing all that you are. So that everybody may see who you are. And now knowing that that bubble is there and will be there eternally, take your awareness back to your feet. Take your awareness now into your body, and when you're ready to open your eyes again. So this is the practice of connection. And of course, to do it anytime. It doesn't have to be at the new moon. Whenever we may feel that we're out in our body, out in our heads perhaps, just rooting ourselves into Mother Earth really helps us. Helps us make better decisions, helps us speak from a clarity, and helps us to feel that we belong. In ancient times, when a child was born, they would take the placenta of that child and they would bury it into Mother Earth. And then they would place a tree on top of that. And they would be saying is, this is your mother. This is where you will get nurtured from. And that I, as the physical mother, am just the intermediary between now and where you will be suckered from, where you will receive your creativity. And that when we went through puberty, another tree would be planted, and we would then pass through between those two trees. This is your path. This is your journey here. Because our total journey is to literally bring heaven onto earth. And that's what we're being asked to do now, is to look at what is the blueprint, what's the heaven that we're carrying inside us that we are ready to express into this new world, into this new hologram. And what are we carrying from the past, maybe past lives, past experiences, that no longer is in harmony with us, or no longer we wish to carry? And what's particularly happening is that we are getting the chance to look at the stories that we've carried in the past. In other words, that goes back to my caterpillar feet. If we still have a story that has energy in it, we have not collected from that story the celebration, what it is we learned from that story, etc. So if I said, can you remember a story where you got angry and you went, yes, it was 20 years ago and I felt this and they felt that. Whatever reason you created that story, because we do create our stories, we do create in order to know ourselves. There's still a part of you lost in that story. Let me just wind back a bit. We get to know who we are on this planet by creating our reality out in the world so we can see ourselves. So we send a part of us out into that world. And I would call it like a petal of your flower. It's in a petal. And that part of us develops around us what we call a story or an experience. And the message of that is, oh, that's who I am, or that's that part of me. And that when we see that out there in the world, we then embrace that part of us, enriched by the wisdom of that story. However, often, because that part of us was difficult to accept, or maybe it was difficult for us to acknowledge, or maybe it was a problem, that piece of us is still hanging out there, as I was speaking about those caterpillar feet. So if things are coming up for you now, and they're coming up for us more than ever before, if you're remembering old stories, or you're looking through photo albums, or you're doing something, or something comes to mind, you go, oh, that's that, and it energizes you, then what's happening is there's a part of you trying to get your attention for you to embody that image or that part of you. And in particular, if you have an emotional reaction to anybody, you are meeting a part of you that's waiting integration. So if you think, wow, this person is so fantastic, you're meeting yourself in that person. And if you think, I don't like that person, then you're meeting yourself in that person. It's not about judgment. It's just like, wow, there's another piece of me. Thank you very much. So at this time, as we are cocooning, we are, in that same way of the 3-day ritual, deciding what needs to be brought back into our heart, what are we ready to forgive or let go of, and what is the essence of our beingness? What is it we feel essential, is our essential self? So as you make that connection into Mother Earth, you're not just connecting to the grid, you're connecting what is my eternal, essential self that exists within this lifetime. What makes me who I am now? And that might be, what are the 3 qualities, values that you carry forever? What's the things that you say, without these, I would not exist? And they may be words you might use like caring and compassion. And of course we like it, but what is it that is essential for you? And I'll use one of mine. Mine is curiosity. I like learning. The curiosity is important. If someone said to me, stop learning, I would not, this would be a real problem for me. I like meeting people. I like an exchange. So what is it you're noticing in this time of the cocooning is one of those things that's really important to you? And they're those 3 qualities to take on board. All right? So as we connect to the grid, And when you bring that energy up that you've just brought up, you're really giving permission for that dragon energy, that serpentine energy, to burn away anything that is not true to you. So that's a big statement. I maybe should have told you that before you did the exercise. But what I'm wanting to say is, why would you want to carry anything that's not true to you? So this is a time where I often use for myself a meditation where I say, close all the doors not in harmony with my soul, or open the doors that are. And be prepared to realize that there are things that you may, or I may be holding on to that we weren't noticing. So I hope that helps in this connecting and this releasing, because we really are in the hands of the crone at the time. Now, particularly for women, when we bring that energy up, and I say we store it in our uterus, and we store it in for men, they store it in their prostate. But the uterus, another word for that is called the utterer, if we're going to change the word from English into something else, another English word. It is where, as women, we are more powerful to speak from. Now, many men speak from their uterus, their sacral chakra. But the uterus is the place for women's power. This is the place where we can really connect our heart to our energy field. So when we speak from our throat chakra, we often are not talking from our truth. We're not talking from the depth of who we are. And you might want to practice this a little bit yourself, that when we speak from up here, we often, if I said to you, tell me about your journey, or tell me about your day, when we speak from up in our throat chakra, we're often talking about details, and this is what we're going to do. And when we speak from our sacral chakra, we speak from the depth of the very beingness that we are. So I'm just aware of time. On these days of releasing, the things that we want to release especially are old energies that we may pick up. The feminine in us has a tendency to take into itself energies that may help someone else to transform. In other words, the feminine often is like a vacuum cleaner. She goes around cleaning other people's energies and saying, now I've cleaned those energies, now you can become all that you want to be. But we weren't always taught how to clear those energies out. So what I'm saying is, on that day of emptying your womb, emptying your prostate, emptying the glass of water, be aware of what energies have I taken in, not just from myself, what energies am I feeling, emotions, but what have I taken in from other people? And so when you do that clearing, you want to imagine yourself literally emptying out and saying, I am not responsible for other people's feelings. I'm letting go of the feelings I might have gathered up over this month. The other thing that we let go of is our relationships with people who we might think wanted to change, but they really didn't want to change at all. They wanted to stay where they were. And so this is a time for us to say, look, I'm offering you the ability to bring about change, or if you want to change, but I realize that I'm hanging on to you because I thought you should change, or maybe you would ask to change. Maybe I need to just ask you to leave, and that would be a good thing. And then finally, we let go and we ask to leave those energies that no longer harmonize with us. And that might be people around us who we just know we don't have that relationship with, and we may say, hey, I think this is complete. So the clearing out of our sacral chakra, the clearing out of our uterus, our prostate, is a really important thing, because while we're full of old energies, it's impossible for that golden light to come up and fill us in the way it could do. So I'm just aware, we're on 56, I'm going to be very mindful of that. Can I ask if there are any other questions before we complete?
There's a couple in the chat. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I wasn't sure whether I was unmuted because I'm on your screen. One is more in relation to tests, which is, this was Penelope saying that these can be brutal if you're thrown into it, and contrary to one's usual self-nurturing, gentle, non-medicalized life approach. Do you have any advice on how to counteract the negative impact this has?
I'm sorry, I'm just running down the chat now. Testing as such.
Yes. Yeah, it's 6:28 from Penelope.
Yes, and I'm not sure what testing. Earlier comments about testing.
Well, you were talking about listening, testing, and touching. Three.
Oh, okay. I wasn't. Yes, absolutely. It's thank you, Penelope. Penny. It was hard I couldn't remember where I'd said it. You know, I was taught to make a diagnosis without tests, and I would love to see, and I'm seeing it in doctors who are stepping forward, who are saying, actually, I'm using my eyes. I'm maybe even using my nose to smell. I'm using my touch to find out what's going on. We've become, there's so much defensive medicine, and I'm sad about that. And I see defensiveness coming into so many different groups, not wanting to get sued, so let's just do all those tests. You know, but you know, it's a great question. All I'm saying is you can question that testing, although I would say be careful, because sometimes it is essential. But I'd ask that you go, you know, when I go in to see my doctor, I go in with an open heart to be able to say, I know you want the very best for me, and I know you care for me. And when we change the way that we approach someone, the energy changes around us. So thank you for that one. And then I did see another one down there.
Yes, this is about masculine, feminine chakras.
Yes, could you say more about that? Yes, it's purely our masculine chakras. Our masculine energy is our defender, our protector. It steps forward a lot. And as I said earlier, you know, we do actually have very strong masculine energy. Again, wonderful. But sometimes when someone says to me, I have a problem with my throat chakra, which thank you for you saying that, I always look at its corresponding partner, which I haven't said, but I'll say very quickly. Each of the chakras has a corresponding partner, a masculine, feminine balance. So the feminine to the throat chakra is the sacral chakra, the chakra underneath our umbilicus. And the sacral chakra is probably one of the most challenged chakras that we have, because it's our relationship chakra. It's about where do we feel respected, where do we feel abused, etc. Do we feel that we're in a healthy relationship? And so if someone has problems at the throat chakra, I would say, go and look at your sacral chakra. And all those things I very quickly went through was, what do you need to clear out that's in your sacral chakra that no longer serves you? Or what do you need to speak from your sacral chakra through your throat chakra to let people know what you need? So often I'll find that the masculine chakras, throat chakra, solar plexus, base chakra, and one up above our heads called the star child, they are often overactive. and then why we see illness in the solar plexus like liver disease or gallbladder disease, or base chakra is high blood pressure. We often see, oh, they're working overtime to protect the other chakras that are not actually, we're giving so much gift to. So base chakra connects to crown chakra, heart chakra connects to solar plexus chakra, and root chakra connects to the star chart chakra. So I just wanted to put all of those in. So wherever you've got an overactive chakra, is often, you know, throat problems, or as I say, solar plexus or base problems, look at its corresponding, because they're the feminine chakras that I hope during this session, I'm really encouraging you to listen more clearly to your intuition, listen to your body, clear the energy from your sacral chakra, connect to your root chakra, and know that you are in your power now from the feminine. The feminine is stepping forward because she does the birth naturally. It's who we are.
Very good.
And thank you. Yes, there's a great book there, and I also have my own book on chakras, Frontiers of Health. So if you also would like to look at that, there's lots of wonderful books. So I think we are complete.
Yes. Is there anything you'd like to say by way of, as it were, further completion?
I think I just thank you all for coming. It's lovely to see you all out there. I appreciate the comments that have come across. This is a time that's unique to us. This is a time that we called in. This is a time where the spirit world, whatever you want to call it, the great mother, the angelic worlds, the ET, the star beings, they have never been closer to us at this time than ever before. And we are giving birth to ourselves. And that birthing is coming not from our heads, it's coming from the purity of our hearts and our connection, as I say, to rooting into the earth and rooting into the sky above and rooting into what makes you so special as a human being. Human beings now are the creative source that we're moving into, and the compassion, the respect, and the support we have for each other.
Thank you, thank you. There's lots of chat coming in and appreciation for you, Christine. You'll see. I'd just like to conclude a couple of things. One is just to say that we'd love to have your feedback on the day, and pass it back to Christine and Naya. So if you'd send that to Andrew, and it will also help, I think, persuade other people to listen to the recordings, because we've been a very small, select group today, and I think there are many people who will benefit enormously from what we've been listening to today from Christine and Anaya. And so that your comments will help us spread that message. And then, as we said this morning, if there's a resource that you think would be useful to send out to the group as a whole, and this could, if some of you have written books, and maybe something that you've written about it, or articles, or websites, or suggestions. I mentioned Richard Tarnas's Archetypal Astrology. I'll send the link to that, and I've got a couple of other things to send. So if you could do that over the weekend, then early in the week we'll send back out to everybody what we've gathered, what we've gleaned, as it were. And then two other announcements. One is that the network is going to be part of a big event that begins at the end of next week called Humanity Rising. So have a look at that on the internet. We'll be sending details of this. 250 speakers and 175 organizations. So it's a huge thing. And this is organized by the Ubiquity University, which is Jim Garrison and his colleagues. And so this, I think, could provide us with a hologram, a platform, somewhere to bring ourselves to come together and to weave this new hologram that we've been talking about. And then our next event will be with 6 speakers on resilience, different aspects of resilience, in 2 weeks' time. So all the details of that is on mysticsанdscientists.org. So that's the first part of my I wanted to say in terms of announcements, and I just want to bring out two themes from the day by way of conclusion. The first, and these have struck me, they may have struck you as well, is that we've had this afternoon this image of the cocoon, being in the cocoon, in this transitional phase between I love the legs of the caterpillar. I hadn't thought about the legs of the caterpillar, the fact that the caterpillar was always very busy as well as eating a lot. But this morning we had the tunnel, we had the birth canal. We had this idea of being in this transitional state that we've just got to trust, being in this unknown place, in this uncharted territory. What else can we do? So that's the first thing I wanted to say. The second, you used the expression, the eye of the storm, the eye of the storm. And this morning, Anaya was talking about the eye of the needle, and I think you also mentioned the eye of the needle, but the eye of the needle and the eye of the storm. And the interesting thing about the eye of the storm is it's still. There's no movement. The still point of the turning world, as Eliot says in his 4 quartets. And so that stillness, that point of stillness, is our center. And that's where we can rest while this storm is going on around us. And that is the same place where the trust arises and the inspiration arises. And I loved your 3 phases and these 3 aspects of the release, connect, and inspire. It's something that we can all do, and we can all take part in this sort of ritual that you're talking about. It seems very important to connect with rituals at this time. So I'd like to thank you enormously from the bottom of my heart for your wonderful contribution this afternoon. I'd also like to thank Andrew for his organization, all the time that he's put into coordinating this, getting back to people, getting it all up on the website. He's put in a lot of work. And I thank all of you for being here with us. And I'm going to send out the light of the candle. So I'm going to blow the candle out to send you all lots of love and light. There we go.